I lost my wife of 59 years. She was my best friend, my #1 fan, and kept me encouraged and optimistic all of our lives.
Something in your eyes makes me want to lose myself in your arms. But
we lost our mother. She not only loved us, but she taught us how to love. She was the most influential woman in my life.
If you knew,
I lost my grandmother. She was my role model. She truly led a servant's life. She was our angel on earth.
it feels like
My grandmother, Barbary Broyles, had Alzheimer's. In the 4 years that followed her diagnosis, my family loved her and took care of her at home. Husband, children, grandchildren, 3 generations of us, and everyone feeling devastation in our own way. Many of us put our lives on hold to look after her. They were hard, demanding, wonderful years we wouldn't trade for anything. But we were fortunate to have the support of our large family. Some could do more than others, but all of us were united in our desire to give her the very best care possible. So we began blazing this trail, one difficult step at a time, by keeping track of the things that worked.
I kept Barb involved with everything she could possibly do. We went to football, basketball, baseball games. We went to the movie. We went to church. We went out to eat. And she had a better quality of life by being involved with other people.
We learned that touch is very important. My mother loved for us to touch her, to hold her hand, to rub her arm, to scratch her back. She loved for us to brush her hair. It makes them feel safe and it makes them feel loved.
My grandmother often got upset. She would cry and ask to go home. We realized it was because she felt scared. My family decided every day to make her feel comforted. We wanted her to feel safe and loved, and that's what we did. We also wrote down the things that didn't work, like trying to force her to do something she didn't want to. We made a lot of mistakes, but we hoped that the years of trials and errors our family went through would someday help others. My grandmother died the way she lived, with grace, dignity, surrounded by the people she loved. At her beautiful memorial service, people from all over the state and the nation reminded us that they loved her too.
We have to do today what needs to be done today.
Her death gave birth to our mission and her legacy to provide desperately needed resources to those who care for Alzheimer's patients.
Let's talk about some of the things you talk about here. You say, number one, you got to make their world really simple.
We must remember that Alzheimer's patients, you're doing something with them. It's social. It's not a medical. It's all social. But you have to be creative to keep her calm.
Well, give me an example of when you had to be creative.
Well, we had to be creative when she would say she wanted to go home and see her mother. I want to go home and see my mother. Please take me home to see my mother's been deceased. So you don't say your mother's not here, because then she goes into a behavioral pattern, may want to hit you or leave the house or whatever. So you say to her, your mother has gone to a party. She'll be back tonight. You'll be able to see. We're going to have a good time right now. We're going to play cards and watch TV, and then we'll see your mother tonight. 1 minute later, she's forgotten that. So that's what we call creative.
Yeah. So, and there were times you would put her in the car and drive her around the neighborhood.
Oh yeah. When she wouldn't get out of the car, this is not my house. This is not my house. And so I learned, this is all trial and error, but we finally learned I'd drive down the hill and take her to get her a milkshake. She loved milkshakes. She went from a 4 to a 12 during this time. With the milkshakes that I calmed them down with. But then we would drive back and we'd get to the street going up to our house, and I'd say, Barbara, we're going to the most beautiful home in Fayetteville. The one that you helped design, you helped build. It's the most wonderful home in all of Fayetteville should get right out and walk right in.
Yeah, of course. You always said